Good evening, buenas noches, and thank you for tuning in. On behalf of all of us at the locally based, independently owned bookstore Books and Books in Miami, Florida, and in partnership with Miami Book Fair, it's my pleasure to welcome you to a virtual evening with Carmen Rita Wong to discuss her new memoir, Why Didn't You Tell Me?, published by our friends at Crown. Carmen Rita Wong is a writer and nonprofit board leader whose board positions include the Moth and the Planned Parenthood Federation of America. She was the co-creator and television host of On the Money on CNNBC and was a national advice columnist for Glamour, Latina, Men's Health, and Good Housekeeping. She is the author of a series of novels and two best-selling advice books. She's the founder and CEO of Malecón Productions LLC, where she develops women-focused media and entertainment. To moderate this evening's conversation, we're joined by Carmen Pelaez, an award-winning playwright, actor, and filmmaker who is currently working on developing a television series, Tropical Beasts. Her new play, The Cuban Vote, had a recent run at Miami New Drama to raves from critics and audiences alike. In the political sphere, she's been a part of both President Obama and President Biden's Cuba teams and has also served as a consultant on several local and national campaigns. Just a quick reminder that throughout this evening's broadcast, you can post questions below in the Ask a Question feature at the bottom of the screen. And please order your copy of Why Didn't You Tell Us from Books and Books and support independent bookstores. And now, without further ado, I'd like to welcome our guests to the virtual screen. Hello and welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Carmen.
Hi, Mujer. How are you? I lost you there for a minute. My
Well-
dog was like, where is she? Where is she? I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Me too. Me too.
I'm excited to talk to you for several reasons.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I was asked to do this because we've known each other for many years. But I was excited to talk with you because I know you as this like champion for fellow women. You do everything that you say you're going to do 15 times faster and better than any human would expect you to do anything, because I'm amazed at the rate at which you produce. You are a present and fierce mama bear. You support all the women around you, not only with advice, but you invest in them. You invested in me at one point, and all of this, and then I read this book.
Right?
And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Because I was it's interesting because it's called Why Didn't You Tell Me? Excuse me. But I found it to be an odd kind of conversation between you and your mother the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Even though there's so many other factors, it was such an interesting conversation between you, your mother, your memory of your mother, right? And others' memories of her. Like all of that was happening at once. And even though it's very much, I don't want to give anything away, so you can.
Yeah, there's lots of surprises, so we got to be
lots
careful.
of surprises. But you're born to this woman who's a force of nature in a completely, I feel like she was a hurricane that was kept in a Tupperware.
Yep.
And you were a hurricane that was unleashed on the world, right? Or like in a good hurricane way.
Yeah.
So I was very interested not only by the parallels between you, even what would be perceived as a flaw. I saw how strong she was to overcome so many things. And I saw that same strength in you, in everything you've overcome. And with, again, the attitude of like, I'm overcoming this because this is not meant to slow me down. I have to be better. I have to be more. And I saw so many parallels and how they manifest in a way that's hurtful to self and those around you, and how it manifests in a way that's constantly trying to give those around you something more and advance everybody together, but they were both from the same root.
Yeah.
They both come from the same seed. And I think in the end, they both had the same kind of quest for not only survival, but finding a way to thrive and be better always.
Yeah.
So to me, that really spoke to me. And I think also the always incredibly difficult relationships between mothers and daughters. I don't think enough can be written about how hard that is, and how it's one of the most, I think it's one of the toughest relationships that we experience as human beings, right? So I was very moved by all of that, but that is enough about me talking about what I thought of your work. Why don't we jump in, and why don't you read to us?
Yes.
A little bit. Yes.
Put the hardcover here. And folks, as I showed Carmen, because Carmen has an early press version. This has pictures. This has pictures.
I missed out on the pictures.
So, yeah. You know, what I do though is when I read, I can't, like some authors can just go into the book and just read wherever. This is pretty much written like a little bit of a thriller mystery. So I can't give anything away because every chapter builds on the next and the prologue hints at everything. So I'm going to just go to chapter 1 and just read the first 2 pages.
Awesome.
It is, and I answer each chapter. So why didn't you tell me? And I answer each chapter with a because, her answer, because the stage was set. One of my first memories is being dolled up one night in a miniature rabbit fur chubby coat made by my abuela, my mother's mother, whom we called Mama. She was an elegant, square-faced, handsome Dominican woman who kept her deep black straight hair in a short chic cut, never leaving the house without red lipstick. She worked in Midtown Manhattan as a seamstress for Oscar de la Renta, the suave, perpetually tan Dominican-American fashion designer with a legacy of dressing first ladies, starting with Jackie Kennedy, and who filled his workshops with immigrant women from his home country. Abuela dressed for work every day in a smart, tailored navy or black Oscar skirt suit and a starched white or cream-collared blouse. She was divine to me. My chubby coat was calico in color and uneven. There were variations in the length of the fur pieces, all shades of brown from light to dark, patchy like a calico cat. It was sewn of remnants from Mama's salon, a manufacturing loft filled with her fellow countrywomen, who were most likely also various shades of brown and black, speaking to the island's history of enslavement and colonialism, as old as Columbus's first landing. I couldn't have been more than maybe 3, almost 4 years old that night. What I remember most was the feel of that fur, the absolute luxe of it, unspoiled by the knowledge of the carnage that happened to put it on my back. And I remember that in wearing that coat, along with my fancy lace-up go-go boots and emerald green velvet evening purse, also custom made for me, with a rabbit's fluffy gray tail smack in the middle of the clasp, I felt like the most loved and special thing. I remember it so well because it was a feeling that was rare and would be gone from my life all too soon. I was dressed up to go out with my older brother, Alexander, Alex, to everyone except our parents, to Chinatown with our father, Peter Papi Wong. He was coming to pick us up from our apartment in Morningside Heights, which at the time, in the 1970s, was Harlem. My brother and I lived alone with our young mother, Lupe, a firstborn child of her father's second family. My grandfather, Abuelo, had 2 families, one with his wife, who was somewhere else in New York City at the time, and one with his longtime, we will call her partner, my grandmother, Mama. And it was decades before I'd find out that this was typical of Dominican culture back then and handed down, still a bit today, for a man to have a wife, never divorce, but have another family or more, and even live with this other family, like my grandfather did. Of course, this was never spoken of. And I didn't meet anyone from Abuelo's other legitimate family, our family, until nearly 30 years later. Ay, mija, qué linda eres, Abuela said to me as she bent down to put the hook into the eye at the top of my coat. She would say this phrase to me like a mantra, that night and every day that I was lucky enough to see her. Qué linda. Her greeting to me was always this: And what I heard was, "Oh, my child, how lovely you are." It could never have been said to me enough, but it wasn't about my appearance. When Mama held my face in her hands, she looked into my being and told me, that I was worthwhile, even with all she could see inside me, just as I was and as all I was to be. No one before or since has done the same. But at 3 or 4, the prime years in which we shape and form ourselves, our personalities and our programming, that was all I needed to build a foundation for the adventure and struggle that was to be the rest of my life.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Carmen, when did you decide, because I'm not going to delve into the secrets, but because you deal with so many family secrets.
You could, the first one is, it's out there. It's out there.
I'm not going to be the one that's going to mess up. Like, if you want to tell whatever secrets, up to you, but I'm not going to do it.
All right.
It's hard to delve into such vulnerable spaces.
Yeah.
And spaces that don't only affect you as an artist and created, or, we're shaped by fire or by wind, but created whatever we are today without affecting other people that were affected by the same challenges.
Yeah.
When did you decide, I'm ready to dive into this wound? I'm ready to dive into this in my life. When did you decide that?
You mean to put it to paper?
To put it to paper for all the world to see.
Well, originally I had wanted to tell my story because I was a little kid. We moved from Harlem to New Hampshire, which maybe we'll get into, which was an incredible cultural shock. It was a very, very difficult time for me. So I found solace and sanctuary in the local libraries. So I would sit amongst the stacks and I would, read books like I described it in the book, like, frat boy at a kegger, like glug, glug, glug. I couldn't get enough. I just constantly reading. And I distinctly remember a moment that I was sitting between the stacks reading, and I looked up and I was filled with this like, oh, I love this so much. But then I looked around and I said, we're not here. We're not here. I'm not here. Like, we don't exist. In the most important place where I found sanctuary, we did not exist. And of course, I'm talking about Black, Asian, Latina, women, we weren't there. So That's when I first was like, I can't wait to be in the stacks. I want to be in the stacks. As life went on, I have led a very interesting life. Okay.
Enough to write a book about it. So I'd say,
but it's just not been normal. Let's just say it's just not been normal. As my daughter says, Mommy, your life is like a telenovela. Yes, dear, it is.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot of dun dun dun.
It's a page turner. So in my 20s, I started feeling funny. I wanted to tell my story. I wrote my first personal essay at that time. I felt funny. Something was wrong. Then my mother got sick, and let's just say I learned something about the 2 fathers I had, Papi Wong, and then my mother's second husband. And that really rattled me, of course. But then it just kept going. Then I find out, my mother, what she told me, which I thought was the truth, was just another one of her stories.
Right.
Now, she passed away 18 years ago. And no, I could not have written this book if she were alive.
Right.
No, not with Lupe around, no. But
I totally understand why. But also,
because you knew her.
Beyond the Lupeness of her, I also it's a private choice whether or not you want your failures or successes as a parent to be world. I think that's actually considerate of you not to do it while she was alive. And
I don't think I was ready. And I also, this is not a joke, have been in therapy every week for 15 years. I will say that. Tremendously helpful with healing wounds to find the right person to do that with. But I'm also one of those, as you mentioned, I'm one of those people, I come out curious about everything, wanting to figure out myself, wanting to see how I could do things better, how I could hurt less, right? Heal wounds, figure out who I am. And I just did that for years and years. And then finally, I was in a position where I could focus on this, which because I had been in media and built a business and all that, I couldn't. So I'm focusing on this, and all the healing was there.
Right.
It was really, really there, and it connected all the dots. And I have to say, because people in my family pass young, I was hitting the big 5-0, and I was like, my time's running out. I got to do this now. And I can't, and maybe not. Maybe I'll be here.
Right.
Maybe
I was going to say, like, let's not let that comment go without knocking on something.
I'm knocking on wood. But I'm saying is that it really lit a fire under me that I was like, I need to make this happen and tell this story. Because too, as you know, I'm very stubborn and I want to change things. And I was like, my story is a typical American story. We don't see that. We don't know that. Yes, we've had some come out, right? But we need more.
Right.
We need more of those stories.
Well, it's interesting to me because I never think of you as somebody that wants to change things. I think of you as somebody who wants to fix things.
Well,
you're like a restless warrior. Like if there's somebody that fell down, you're like, nope, picking you up, taking you on my back till you can walk on your, like you're constantly looking.
Do you have insurance?
What?
I'm like, you fall down. I'm like, while I'm holding him, like, do you have insurance? Who do I need to call?
Exactly. You're like, make sure everybody's covered.
Yeah.
And there's a restlessness for good, you know, to your nature. And I read this book and I see that your entire life, pretty much, you've had to kind of like, you've led with your character, right? Because there were so many instances, especially in New Hampshire, of just blatant ignorance and racism and the kind of baggage that, you know, listen, I am a white Cuban that grew up in Miami. I did not know racism towards Latinos until I moved to New York.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And when I saw it in New York and experienced it, I was gobsmacked by it, right? So Northeastern racism is very different than what I've grown up with. And it's kind of like the way that the Irish Catholic churches are a little different than the Cuban ones. Like the Cuban ones, you see the priest at the party, you're going to have a whiskey with them. And Irish Catholic churches, all the stories are like, and then they beat the kid 17 times, you know, in half an hour. You're like, oh my God. Like, it's culturally such a difference. How did you maintain? Because I've always thought of you as somebody that's uber Latina. Like you are definition of Latina. Do you think that being raised with everybody trying to stifle you, how did that affect you? And I know what I see, but how did you turn that into something so positive and so restless for like everybody else to see? Like, how did you transform that negative energy into positive light?
Yeah, it's like living in a fishbowl while everybody's hitting it. Here's what I did. One of the biggest and weirdest gifts of moving to New Hampshire and enduring that was getting to know the majority culture, the majority stereotypical American culture, being around all kinds of people of that culture, of white culture, Anglo culture, I'll call it. It demystified it all to me.
Right.
So I was able to look and see, and even though they all looked at me and expected me to be, you know, a pregnant teenager and drop out of school and all of these things, and I'm, you know, pumping out my straight A's and I loving pissing everyone off, by the way, by doing that. I looked around me and I was like, okay, you guys have smart people and dumb people. Like you guys have lazy people and hard work. You guys have the full spectrum of people like we do.
Right.
There is the idea is just that you're better because of what is just not there. Now, it also helped that my mother was, I joke, because this is true. She raised me like an entitled white man.
It works.
She was like, you have, you know, and I won't even do her accent, though I do it in the audiobook. She's like, you know, no one has a monopoly in this country on doing well. Nobody.
Right.
Now, meritocracy doesn't really exist, but she planted the seed in my head that I deserved it just as much as anyone else.
Well, I think that is what was impressive about her.
Yeah.
She could be as hard on you as she could be, but then it's like if somebody else came for you, she was a lion. She was just like, you're not doing that to my daughter. You're not putting that in her head.
Yeah.
And there was one passage once you're in New Hampshire, when you're in New Hampshire where she styles her hair and she comes home with an afro and it's not welcomed and she covers it. I found that to be the juxtaposition of that with how she really pushed you to be unapologetic.
Yeah.
I found that juxtaposition very moving.
Yeah.
Think about healing. When you did you find the sacrifices? Were you able to kind of parse through the tougher times? And did you see some of the things that she did as sacrifices so that you could fully be you?
What I'm going to say is not going to sound very generous, but if you read the book, you'll see that I am very generous to my mother. However, no, what I think is that I was an extension of her. I was the personification of her hopes and dreams for herself. I was like as if I was a limb, right?
Right.
So it could appear that she was protecting me. She was protecting herself. It could appear that she was, pushing me. It's because she wanted to go to college and she wanted a career. And she was a very ambitious woman. I found out that she passed away boxes of writing, screenplays, books in Spanish and English.
Wow.
She was a huge reader and learner, and she was very, very smart. But her education had to stop at 15 when they moved to New York.
Right.
So I think she really was like, training a horse and then letting me go, take the race while she sits and like watches all her training. So that's the way I feel about it, really. But yes, she did do a lot of sacrifices. She went and waited tables next to me to help put me through college because I had nobody financially to take care of me.
Right.
And she left her other little girls at home to do that sort of thing. So yeah, but it's hard with my mother to parse out what was
as it should be. Like, how do you separate salt and sugar, right?
Well, yeah, and I think it's something that I'm definitely doing differently with my own daughter. But I think that I was not allowed to be myself.
Even though she let you know that the white as default was incorrect.
No, because she actually acquiesced to it. Because remember, you mentioned that she was very proud one day to come home. So she was Afro-Latina, right? Dominicana. She was proud one day to come home because, get this, she saw Rita Moreno on the electric company with an afro.
Right.
I'll never forget that episode. Someone dug it up on Twitter and I saw it and I was like, my God, that was the one. That was the one that my mother saw. And the next thing you know, she found somebody like outside of Boston to give her exactly the same and dye it even that same color, like reddish auburn or whatever.
Wow.
And when Marty, her Anglo husband, came home, my stepfather, and she was so proud. The look on her face, she was so proud. She was so happy to be herself. But what happened? He comes home. He doesn't like it. She puts the scarf on and she goes back underground. So unfortunately, I also learned from her that the price you pay for getting ahead or trying to get ahead in this country is assimilation. And I couldn't be my creative self. I didn't come to this country so you could be a writer.
Right. And while she has boxes of writing hidden away.
No, because she knew I had nobody financially to take care of me. So she was like, you're either a doctor or a lawyer or an MBA. My brother was the MBA in finance. I ended up going to finance, but initially I was pre-med. So I kind of really had to push down all my creativity to do other things. And I didn't really, but that's okay. You know,
I mean,
it's
that's what I find so extraordinary, though, Carmen, that
yeah,
with these challenges and everything, like the real you still
yeah,
came out,
yeah,
like the fighter and just that, again, that relentless person, like always trying to make a positive situation happen and making sure people around her are taken care of, completely. I think we're all broken, but I think that's what I found very moving, is that, like, your mother's way of being broken crippled her, and
yeah,
your form of being broken almost gave you a superpower. And that's living even after many years of therapy, and we should all be in therapy and continue to discover ourselves and go through that process. A lot of work,
yeah.
but that's also why I'm talking to you. And this is, the third book I think I read of yours, and like,
Yeah.
and this is why that led to, you pulled something out of that, and a lot of people don't. Right?
Yes. Yeah. I'll say this. The analogy I use is like, look, you've got two cars getting to a goal, right? I'll get there, but I'm driving on gravel and rocks, and
Right.
other folks may be driving on fresh tar.
Right.
What are we like when we get to the end?
Right.
Not in great shape, not in the best shape, but we made our goal. But I think for me, it was seeing the way my mother suffered with her choices, seeing the way she, kind of used her, I'll say, reproductive organs to move her station in life. She was miserable. And so I learned from that.
Right.
And we can learn from our parents, right? Even if we have horrible relationships and whatever, once we really look at them and go, okay, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to be miserable. I don't want to do this. And she also made me second mommy, right, to my sisters, because they were born well after me. So I was, 11 years old, taking care of like 4 the toddlers and newborns.
Right.
And that also built kind of the empathy. I mean, I wasn't the best at it because I was a kid, but taking care of people was my DNA. But now, my dear, I'm taking care of me.
Well,
me
that's
and my child. That's
no, but Carmen, but that's the thing. Like, I've seen you take care of you, and I've watched you evolve and everything, but you're still a completely empathetic person.
Yeah.
And you're still completely caring of those around you. Maybe now what you're really taking, the people that you maybe consider a little bit more the people that you take care of and everything. But that's what I think. Yes, you're taking care of yourself, but you haven't stopped having the generosity of spirit.
Yeah.
And you're always there for your friends and family, and you're always present, and you're always moving the ball forward community wise. As a woman, you're always doing that. And I think that, especially after reading your memoir, I'm like, wow, that's even more impressive. Right? Because I think, like I said, I think we all have major breaks in our life, or a lot of us are driving on that gravelly road. The older I get, the more I'm like, the ones that didn't drive on the gravelly road, frankly, are people that are a lot less interesting to me. I don't have a lot in common with them. So
well, the road's more fun, right? I just get to see
more. When you've got to maneuver a little bit, but yeah, I just really enjoyed it, and I know that everybody that gets it and read it will see a little bit of themselves in a lot of the characters, and not the characters, the people in your life.
Yeah, your characters too.
There's a lot of color and a lot of spark, and a lot of you have. To me, it's interesting because when I look at your family, it's like the most diverse family picture. Just visually diverse family picture you have.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think your book is like that as well. You just have this incredible diversity of experience, of personality, of challenge. So congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's let Christina back in. I don't know if we have any questions. I'm here like chatting away with you, and I'm not sure if we have questions.
We don't have them yet, but we can remind people that now is the time to pop in your questions. Should you have any, just go to the Ask a Question button and put something in there. So I have a question.
Yes, Christina.
How long did you work on the book? And can you tell us a little bit about that process and what it was like.
Yes, if you want to get into the nitty-gritty, you know, selling books and getting especially a big publisher with a hardcover, it takes a tremendous amount of writing before, because the proposal process is huge. It's basically a big marketing document with a lot of pages. I did multiple proposals. I wrote hundreds and hundreds of pages, had to go through a couple different representations until I found the right one. But this proposal, this version, was rejected by someone, so I moved on, because I just was absolutely like, this is the version that has to happen. This is how I want to tell this story. I want to tell it in such a way that people have to turn the page, cannot put it down, because they are in it. I wanted to bring people into my life so they could feel what it was like. And that's the response I've been getting, which is wonderful. But I just knew I didn't want it to live any other way. So I finally landed with the right person, but I can tell you it took 5 years.
Wow.
It's a long
5
time.
years. And I stopped counting at about 1,000 something pages. But it happened. And then once it happens, I ended up with the right representation. It was done the deal was done in like a week. And all of a sudden it was like, all right, deliver the book in 9 months. And I'm like, wait, what? I've just been, I spent 5 years like sitting there and going, please, I need to do this. And they're like, okay, do it. And I'm
And
like,
you ended up at Crown, which is
and
great.
oh my God. And
you're
this
like on so many, like, you know, great lists, and you're getting great reviews. And so you've obviously the 5 years worth it.
As Carmen mentioned, I am relentless when I want to get something done.
But you know what, Carmen? I also think that the fact that you were relentlessly honest.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
People are connecting with it. I think that's why people are connecting with it, and
that's why I wanted to get it done that way. It wasn't worth it to me to write a memoir. There's no point in me writing a memoir that just goes, and then I did this, and then I did this, and then this happened. You know, looked at my LinkedIn. That's all you need. But to live in someone's life, to bring you with me, it also makes me feel less alone. You know, I mean, Carmen, you may have noticed like the feedback I'm getting. Some people are like, well, you've been surrounded by people your whole life, but you've been alone at it. And I'm like, yeah, that's too much. So by you reading this and sharing my story with me, it makes me less alone. Then it'll make someone else feel less alone, because that's what really good memoirs do for me.
Absolutely. I mean, I definitely felt that, I definitely, it's a very visceral book. Is that even a phrase?
Yeah,
like, it just, you feel the way when you're little and you're trapped, like you felt little, you know, I felt small and trapped and knowing and wanting so much. I mean, the wanting in little Carmen is so clear, you know, and it's arresting. And I mean, it is a page turner in that regard. How much do you think that you've healed, Carmen? You said healed. How much do you feel?
A lot.
Have you been able to liberate yourself from carrying some of the heavier elements of your history?
It's been a transformative couple of years doing the book, and of course living the craziness that we're living in, losing more family members. It has been just so clear to me. Like it's as if becoming conscious again. You know, people talk about middle age and midlife crisis. It's not that. It's just that it's like you wake up.
Right.
And I've woken up and it feels really good. Not everyone's going to respond to it the way you want. Not everyone's going to like it. But yes, I feel
that's
like
also, I think, a good thing. Everybody likes soap, right? But it's soap. So it's just like, I think that's a good thing, actually.
Yeah. And I think I've been asked a lot, like, do you forgive your mom and the other adults in my life who kept the secret, knew the secret? It wasn't forgiveness that I was after, because forgiveness, I feel, is for the person who does the wrong. It's a gift for them. No more gifts. I need the gift. So the gift that I gave myself was understanding and empathy of my mother. And that's what I put in the book. And that was a huge gift to myself.
Right.
It really healed me, my soul, like just to the deepest level. I wish that for everybody. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. So we have people out there, but they're being very shy about their questions.
Come on, please, questions.
So we need some questions. So let me ask you another thing. Just can you talk about secrets? Just a little bit.
Ooh,
I was afraid to go to the secret part of it because I did not want to be the spoiler.
Oh, you want me to talk about one secret or secrets in general?
No, just secrets. Why? What have you learned about that?
Yes.
Why do people keep them?
Yeah.
I don't know if you read Danny Shapiro's memoir.
I know of it. Yes. Yes.
Where she found out that her father, she had grown up in a family where she thought she was Jewish. Her father was not actually her father. That's why she always felt somehow different. You know, she had blonde hair. She looked Scandinavian because she was. So, but then she started a podcast about secrets, about just the secrets, family secrets.
I know the feeling very well. There's actually been a lot, you know, especially with DNA now. There's so many people getting surprises. I think, here's what I think about secrets. You know, my mother kept this secret and then put another story on top of it, keeping the secret again until to her grave, because it served her. It served her needs, her need to be seen a certain way, to be perceived and known of as a certain way. I think with secrets comes a lot of shame. Shame drives secrets a lot. And I think shame is quite poisonous, and lies are quite poisonous, because what it does is it creates distance between you and the person you love or who loves you, right? So what I tried to do is, I understand her, but I try to like really not live a life of secrets and shame. And I'm the one, you know, I'm the one in the family who's always talking out loud about stuff people don't want to talk about. But, you know, for example, with my daughter, who's 15 years old, we have a completely different relationship, I think, than most mothers and teenage daughters. She trusts me implicitly, and I trust her. And people who don't have that kind of look at us and go, oh, yeah, right. Honey, trust me. This kid and I, we respect each other. And that's a really good thing, because I am a safe place. Our home is a safe place. And there's shame is not part of it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for
that. I'm sorry, Christina, go ahead.
No, we have a question.
Oh, great.
From Lisa. She would like to know, with such a busy schedule, how do you find the time to write? And then also, who are your favorite writers?
Ooh, my favorite writers. Let me tell you something. I'm still gobbling up books. I'm not with my bookcase right now, but it's out of control. I did, unfortunately, it's become quite a hobby in my house to buy books and not be able to read them fast enough. So I have like a pile because I've just been too busy. But I'll tell you this. It is, the first part of the question was, how did I do it?
Mm-hmm.
As Carmen, you mentioned in the beginning, which I so appreciate, is it's art, right? It's creativity, it's art. Storytelling is an art, but I also treated it like a job. Because as much as I love the art part, boy, did I love it. Because I'd always just wanted to be an artist, always just wanted to be a creator. So I was like, yeah, this is all I do, right? No, not really. I had to do a lot of other things. So I had to also treat it as a job. I gave myself deadlines. I took that calendar when they gave me the 9-month deadline. How many pages, words did I need? How many do I need to do a week? This week I can't do it because I'm traveling. And it worked out. Some days I wrote nothing, but I wrote in here, like constantly. Things were going on here. How can I do this? How can I do that? And then some days, and then the next day I could write 8 pages, but I got it done. That's how I got it done.
I'm very jealous of your discipline and sticking to that calendar.
Amazing.
That's amazing.
I am the toughest boss of myself.
I know, because I know you, and I've read your book. But it's amazing that the discipline. My question was, I don't know if we have another question, but while we wait, my question was, has B read the book, your daughter?
Not yet. My nieces read it. They're 18 years old, twins. They're her closest sea stars, as they call themselves. They loved it. And of course, the first thing they did was they were just like, Tia, I didn't know this, that, you know. And their mother and Belinda's like, because why would you need to know? You know, of course, but they were fascinated by the whole thing and learning about their parents' early days and where they come from, because their mother's Guyanese.
Right.
So they're Black girls named Wong. And they really need to know their story, you know, and their history. So they loved it. And Bianca is going to read it. She's a little scared, but she's very proud and happy for mommies, which makes me very happy.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Do we have another question, Christina?
Yes, we have a question from Isabel.
Isabel.
I think that's Isa.
Is it our Isabel?
I think it's our Isa.
Hi, mommy.
And she asks, what do you hope your daughter learns from the experience of you writing a book and telling your family story? That's a great question.
I tell you, she has learned, and I'm smiling so hard because when I got the New York Times review, which was like glowing as hell, and when I got the book deal, and when I got the book in my hands, and blah, 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 I'm a crying mess. Crying with joy, overwhelmed with emotion. My dreams are coming true. She saw me struggle every day. She saw me sit at that table and write. She saw me get rejected over and over again. And she would hear me because, of course, we're working from home, right? And she's at home. So it's like she's absorbing all of this. And I said to her, you saw how hard mommy worked, you know? And she's like, yep, I see it. And that's really, I just wanted her to learn that. And she really has seen it. So she really keeps her dreams going because she sees that it takes time and work, focus.
That's amazing.
So,
and is she okay with your sharing the family story? Like how?
Bianca, yeah. Are you kidding? She thinks this
that
is
generation.
She thinks this is a hoot. Are you? She's right. That generation.
That generation is so liberated. It's just like, I thought I was a progressive, but I'm like one stop next to Jeb Bush compared to that generation.
Well, I'm not there, but they share a lot. But she's actually very private person, which is funny, and so am I. And that might be hard to think about, but it definitely.
I'm not buying it. Sorry, here's the receipt. You can return that.
No. There's a difference between
even
writing
more challenging
book and being private. So there's a ton of my life that's private. I like to keep things private. I'm very much have my, group who knows me and knows B and knows the family. But what I've put out there is real. It's just not everything.
All right.
So is that there's a sequel coming?
Yeah, we'll see. I'm tired. I'm gonna take a nap first.
You deserve at least a 15-minute break.
I think what's coming is the movie or the television series. That's
for sure.
Yeah. My agent's out there. She's wonderful, and every little bit helps. So I hope so. That would be wonderful.
So
it feels like it.
One more question from Laverne. Carmen Rita, has being the family's truth teller come with a cost? How much of this propensity have you pivoted into private space therapy, and how much in the public space continues to reverberate at birthday parties and barbecues?
That's a good one. I have multiple families. So let's just say a couple of the families are very, very happy, very, very proud. But it doesn't sit well with everybody. But I've never, as a person, sat well with everybody because, as you'll see in the book, I was treated differently. And I was, by necessity, having to work. I had my first full-time job when I was 11. And I was put in positions of authority when I was a kid. And it was I just have had a very different life. So I've always kind of orbited my family. But you know, I wrote no villains. There are no villains in that book. There's nothing that would, you know, make anyone think someone is absolutely horrible, terrible person. Everybody is a fully fleshed out person. And so, yeah, we'll have to see. It's only been out for a little bit. We'll see.
Okay, well, it's a tremendous accomplishment.
Thank you, Christine.
And we thank you so much to both of you for being with us tonight.
Carmen.
Oh, no, it's a pleasure talking to you about it. Are you kidding me?
The Carmen doubleheader. I love that.
Yeah, I'm taking a picture of us.
It's so wonderful to see you. And I'm only sorry it couldn't be in person, but I do look forward to the time when it will be.
Yes, me too. Yes.
And Christina, we can buy it we can buy the book for those of us that don't have it in the link right there.
Yes.
In the green link
box
at the bottom of the screen. If you haven't bought it yet, do it now.
Thank you.
It also makes a great gift. So give it to family.
Anyone needs a hint in the family? No.
Exactly. Spread the word. So thank you again for joining us. And congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Carmen.
Thank you, Christina, Carmen. Mwah. Besito abrazos, everybody. Thank you so much.
Besitos back. Besitos back. Congratulations.